Home. It's supposed to be where we feel safest. 4 walls to keep the world out. A lock on the door to keep the darkness at bay. But what happens when those walls aren't enough? When the lock clicks, and someone is still on the other side? Tonight, we're stepping into 3 true stories of break-ins. Moments when the line between safety and terror shattered in an instant. But before we start, I need to ask. Are your doors locked? Lines drawn? But most importantly, did you leave the light on?
I was about 13 at the time. So that would mean this happened around 2009, I think? I'm bad at math. I was home alone one night when my parents went out somewhere. I think it was some work party or something. It involved alcohol, so they had to leave the car at home and take a taxi. I usually enjoyed being home alone at night. Mom would leave pizza money and I could play Xbox all night. It was Halloween break, so I didn't have any school to worry about. The good old days. I remember being in a bit of a zombie phase because I spent most nights playing Left 4 Dead and COD 5 Zombies with my friends. Man, I'm telling you, pizza, snacks, a case of Dr. Pepper, and gaming with the boys? Heaven. Well, something happened on one of these nights that messed me up pretty bad. To the point that even now, I always double check doors and windows. I never wear both cans of a pair of headphones at once, and I'm still petrified of the dark. That one ruined a few relationships. I was playing Xbox as usual all night, and I was already a bit jumpy. I was playing alone that night, so I wasn't talking to anyone. I was playing Left 4 Dead, and the music and the sounds of the witch used to scare me a little. I was 13, shut up. So every dark corner and noise I heard was already freaky. I had my window open a bit, and I heard what sounded like someone walking up my gravel driveway. I thought it was my parents coming home, but when I looked outside, I couldn't see anyone. I remember just sitting in silence for a while, with my game paused, trying to listen out for the other sounds. But I didn't hear anything. It was only a few minutes later I heard the trash cans in my backyard falling over. I nearly jumped out of my skin. We didn't really get raccoons or anything, so I started to panic a bit. I looked out the window in the hallway, out into my backyard. I couldn't see anything. The trash cans did fall over, but I didn't see raccoons, and it wasn't windy. It was raining a little, but that was it. I couldn't see the back door as the window looked down above the porch, and the porch roof blocked my view. There's definitely something happening. I went and stood at the top of my stairs and just stared into the darkness for I don't know how long, hoping that I didn't hear anything. All I could hear was the pitter-patter of the rain and my heartbeat in my ears. As I went to go back to my room, I heard it. Someone was trying the handle of the back door. I slowly made my way down my stairs and peeked around the corner and into the kitchen. The back door was wide open. My blood ran cold and every hair stood on end. I knew I had to call the police, but the phone was on the wall next to the fridge. In the kitchen. In what was one of the stupidest decisions of my life, I started walking towards the kitchen. It felt like my hallway was 1,000,000 miles long. My mind was racing with possibilities of what was waiting for me. Was someone gonna grab me? Were they gonna just stab me or shoot me or something? Every single scenario played out in my head. In each one, I end up dead. Or worse. I finally made it to the kitchen. I tiptoed over to the phone. I lifted it and dialed 911. 1, and that's when I heard it.
Aren't you supposed to be in bed, son?
A voice echoing from the back of the kitchen near the window. A low and gravelly voice. I threw down the phone and ran. I could hear the man running after me. I ran faster than I ever had towards my front door. As I got to it, it flung open. It was my parents. I ran into my dad's arms and managed to get through the tears and panic that someone was in the kitchen. As I looked back towards the kitchen, the man went running through the back door again, and my dad ran after him. My dad came back a minute later and told my mom to call the cops. The cops asked me about what happened, but I couldn't give them a description as I couldn't see him in the darkness. They asked my dad where the guy ran off to, but my dad said that he jumped the fence and ran off into the trees. They never caught him. I've since moved into my own place and fitted every door and window with good quality locks. But while I still lived in my parents' house, every time I looked into those trees, I always felt like someone was watching me. To this day, Ross checks every window and every lock. Because once you hear a stranger's voice in the dark, inside your own home, you never really feel safe again.
I don't remember how the whole thing started. It doesn't really matter to me all that much. Whatever the case, it ended in a dare. A dare that saw me breaking and entering. It was about a week, maybe a few days less into the summer holiday. We were walking to Michael's house, which was about a half-mile away from my high school, when we spotted one of the fences that bordered the field had collapsed. For whatever stupid reason, we came to discussing whether someone could break in. Somehow, the whole thing escalated into my friends, David and Mike, daring me to do it. In some moment of hot-headed brashness, I took on the challenge. But I knew something they didn't. My secret weapon. The month before, I'd been messing around trying to open the windows of Miss Marilyn's class, and realized that the 1 second from the back, right by the bookcase, didn't lock. I tried to stall going in, but once we were stood there and the two of them were looking expectantly at me, I decided to pull up my pants and get on with it. I awkwardly scaled the half-collapsed fence that bounced under my weight before I dropped onto the other side. I dusted myself off and shot a smarmy grin back to my friends before creeping towards the old building. I kept low as I made my way across the field, through the parking lot, and up into Miss Marilyn's classroom window. I put my palms to the glass and spent a few minutes trying to get the right amount of pressure and direction to make the thing slide open enough for me to slip my hand in and lift it all the way. With me, I had a small can of paint we bought for a handful of bucks at a hardware store. My quest was to tag one of the hallways. What I wrote was up to me. I made my way out of the classroom door and into the corridor. I took some consideration into where I was putting it. I mean, I didn't want to go to all this hard work and have it not be seen. I landed on going down to the corridor where all the lockers were, so no one could avoid seeing it when they returned after the summer. Even though I've made it that far, I was still sweating with anxiety. I knew there would be no one there over the summer, and I was sure we didn't have any cameras in our school, but I couldn't shake the danger. I was breaking and entering. If I had been caught, it would have been huge. How would I explain that to my parents, let alone the police? I crept, stealthily as I could muster through the darkness. Shadows from the moon cast here and there, playing tricks on my haywire mind. I was physically shaking with adrenaline. I reached the corridor I was looking for and found the perfect place, between Mr. Carty's math classroom and Mrs. Trelawney's. I tremblingly withdrew my paint can and started daubing my words. David Chow and Michael Patrick were here.
I had to hold back from giggling at my stupid plan. Yeah, let's see them explain this one next semester. That was when I heard a heavy bang behind me, and I leapt about 16 feet in the air. I whipped myself around to see who was behind me, legs more akin to spaghetti than bone. Nothing. Just the lockers. I didn't dare move, save my shaking knees. Then started a low, raspy murmur, echoing back the corridor and emanating from the lockers right behind me. I wanted to scream, to shriek, to do anything. It came again, and the lockers rattled. This time, I didn't fuck around, and I bolted. I scrambled on my feet, bouncing off the walls and through hallways, the moaning echoing behind me. I reached the window and barely managed to get the damn thing open with my shaking hands, tossing my body out and onto the tarmac. I couldn't hear the sound anymore, but it didn't stop me tearing like a bat out of hell to the fence and scrambling over while crying out to my friends. The moment they saw me running, they fled, assuming someone was chasing me. I can't blame them. I would have too. I got over the fence with the fervor and speed of an Olympian and was off down the street before I fell down, panting on the dirt. Dave and Michael never came back to get me. Unsurprisingly, I kept the whole event to myself, only telling Michael and Dave, who only laughed at me. Dude, you came out of there like a fucking shark was chasing you, man. Should have seen your face. Fucking beautiful. Then came Tuesday. Michael sent me the text. Get down here, now. They found something at the school. I arrived to find an ambulance out front of the gates. People were crowding around. Someone was being wheeled out just as I arrived, and a teary-eyed woman threw herself at a uniformed man, cutting through to see who was on the stretcher. It took a little time for the full story to be gathered. He was narcoleptic, the kid. Would fall asleep anytime, any place. Was bullied and treated like shit by the other kids for it. He'd been missing officially since Monday, but hadn't actually been heard from since school ended. It wasn't reported sooner because his parents were on holiday for 2 weeks in Malga. Only got back the Sunday night. Some kids had shut him in one of the lockers on their last day, and the kid must have passed out. No one realized he was there as they grabbed their stuff, joked and laughed, all meters from the sleeping boy. A search party found him when they went to look in the school and decided to check his locker. He was dead when they got to him. A dare. A prank gone horribly wrong. A life lost that summer. A reminder that fear doesn't always come from the shadows. Sometimes, it hides in plain sight. I've always been a light sleeper, but last night was different. Around 2 a.m., I woke up to a faint thud from the living room. My first thought was that I was imagining it, but the sound came again. Louder. Deliberate. I live alone. Heart hammering, I lay frozen, straining to hear. Footsteps. Slow. Careful. Moving toward the kitchen. I didn't dare move. My phone was on the nightstand, just out of reach. I debated calling 911, but I didn't want to make a sound. Then came another noise. A soft scrape along the floor. Like someone testing the boards. My stomach dropped. Someone was in my house. I thought about hiding, but my room has one door and one window. Neither would be enough if they saw me. I stayed still, listening as the footsteps stopped. Silence. Then, the creak of the floor outside my bedroom. Close, Too close. I slowly reached for my phone, barely lifting it. My hand shook so badly I almost dropped it. Flashlight on. I aimed it toward the door. Nothing. Relief was fleeting. I noticed my bedroom door was slightly open. I know I had closed it before bed. Then a shadow moved across the hallway. My breath caught. Whoever it was careful, methodical, waiting, watching. I remembered the spare key I hid in the garden shed. It was risky, but my only chance. I inched to the window, peeking through the blinds. The backyard was dark. Empty. Too dark. Too quiet. I waited. Footsteps in the kitchen again, shuffling, dragging something. My heart raced. I grabbed a baseball bat from under the bed, gripping it like a lifeline. Then it stopped. Silence. I froze. And suddenly, my bedroom door clicked. Someone had pushed it open a little more. I didn't think. I ran. Out the back door, barefoot, into the night. I called 911 from the street. They searched the house, found no one. Nothing. I went back the next day, police in tow. No forced entry, no sign of anyone. But the sliding door lock was slightly misaligned, like it had been forced from the outside, and one of the drawers in the kitchen was open. I've never felt safe sleeping in my own home again. Every creak, every whisper of wind makes me jump. And every time I leave, I check the locks at least 3 times. And still, I wonder, were they just unlucky last night, or are they still out there, waiting?
Three break-ins. 3 moments when safety was stolen. A door opening in the dead of night. A hallway echoing with unseen footsteps. A shadow moving through a home while the owner slept. Horror isn't always supernatural. Sometimes it wears a human face. Sometimes it's already inside. So when you lock your doors tonight, when you turn off the lights, listen closely. To the silence. To the stillness. Because if you hear footsteps where there shouldn't be any, if you see a shadow moving where no one stands, a door creaking open to reveal no one there, it may already be too late. Stay safe, stay vigilant, and above all, leave the light on.